Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Cao Yang, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now, it's just not the news and information, but sometimes we do provide tips as well, because the immigration law of Australia is just so complex, isn't it? A lot of people thought it's pretty easy, they could just do it yourself, and a lot of times we have seen a lot of DIY application has gone doom, has been refused or rejected for whatever reason they could not even identify. Anyway, today's video, I would like to pay special attention on the employment sponsored visa. However, the visa is due to be renewed or replaced, so-called the skills in demand, but the concept shall be similar and the same, and we're going to talk about a topic so-called the caveats. Now, what is that? Now, obviously caveats, well, if we go into the plain English meaning, it's something that you should be pay a little bit more attention with, apart from the general informations. So the caveats has been put upon some specific occupations in regards to the details of how the employment shall be and shall not be. So they have it's a way to exclude occupation that in a certain so-called circumstances or environments. For example, can we sponsor a chef that works in a large franchise chain like Macca's? No, we cannot do it. There's a special caveat on that. So if you have already identified a job and you know your what your occupation is, now this video will be very useful because you don't want to go into a job and find out that your employer, although he's valid, he's a good employer, he's willing to sponsor you, but due to the criteria and law, you cannot get it done. So let's go in there and have a look. Now, the main page that you need to pay attention is this one, the so-called skill occupation list. Obviously, there has been a lot of other agents or lawyers that provide information on website, but I'll always come back to the ultimate website, well, which is the Home Affairs Immigration's website. So all you want to do is you Google Home Affairs and then space and you put skilled occupation list. You will land yourself in this web page here. Now pay attention to the dot point, the second dot point. It says this is the key of this video. As you can see, right up there, second one. Okay, now let me get my cursor. There's this one here. Okay, it says caveats which exclude the use of occupation in certain circumstances. That applies to the ENS direct entry and the TSS visa only. So the only one that it's not gonna apply to is what the regional ones, and also the ENS 186 for the TRT entry. So that's not applying to that one. So anyway, and which are the occupation out there? Let me point them out a few ones. Now, before we go into that detail, I would like to say this: the caveats is generally excluding the following, excluding the low skill works. Okay, that's first one. And some occupation, they do require a size, a capacity of size of the employer, the business sponsors. So it cannot be just a small business. It required to be a certain a stage of a business. It cannot just be a small or startup business. Okay, and the other one is that requires a certain salary threshold required to be met. Otherwise you cannot nominate and sponsor this occupation. And last but not least, it's excluding the use of occupation in suburban area, and that means it can only be used in regional Australia. So let's go in there and have a look at a few samples there. So the quickest one is the first page. We will see the first one will be accountant. Is somewhere down here, as you can see now, accountant there. Now once you click on that, see that caveat there and caveat there, let's click on that. It should show up. As you can see straight away, it says the 186 employment nomination scheme business size excludes a business that is required to have more than 5 employees. So if the entity has less than 5 employees, you cannot sponsor an accountant there. So usually that will be a mid-size, and it has a turnover requirement. The business has to be turned over more than $1 million, and low skill set cannot accept. So if the job position required is clerical, bookkeeper, or account clerk, that's basically sitting at the more of administrative works, and then that won't apply there. So that is one of the sample and going example for you there. Now if we go up there, I'll search a few occupation to show you. Oops, what have I done? Dentist. Okay, here we go. Right, okay, dentist. Quite a good job, isn't it? A good occupation there. It does still have a caveat there. You cannot go straight to 186 direct entry, but it has caveat on the 482. And once we click on that, same thing. Now it has a that's accountant there. Now just avoid the top one. So the dentist down here, it says regional. Oops, I need to move that up a bit. Okay, here we go. Okay, it says regional only. So if you're a dentist and you wanted to be in the within the occupation list, obviously you don't want to find. So that means if you're being employed, you don't want to be employed where? In Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane. So there are numbers of health professionals. They are only can be nominated in regional Australia. Now a lot of people may ask, why is that? Now it's the same thing. Now if you go to those medical study or the courses in universities, when they send you to apprenticeship or internships, they will usually send you to regional Australia. Now the reason is obviously regional is lack of those health professions, so that's where they want to send those laborers and professional skills over to those areas. So same thing, if you wanted to be nominated and work with the employment sponsor visa, TSS visa, then that's including some of the health professionals and dentists. You can only go to what? Regional Australia. So that's another thing to watch out for. So, and also if we look at farmers as well, see, look at this one. This is aquaculture farmer. It definitely has to be in regional. So if we click on the caveat, see that there it says regional only, and there's excluding of low skill. So it cannot just be rostering, maintaining records, fruit picking, truck driving. So that's sort of oops, I need to move that up there to let you see it. So that's again the issue there. So some of the those kind of the workers are required to be like that. So and if we go to some of the higher end of occupation, so if we look at chief executive, so that's all the CEO, that's high earn income players out there. If we click on the caveat, same thing. Let me scroll that up. As you can see, it does have now a different way of caveats here. It says the excludes position earning less than $180,001. So you have to be paid very, very well in order to actually nominate this chief executive or managing director position. If the nominee is transferred, and if the nominee is to be transferred to fill the position, the transfer is not an intra-corporate transfer within international trade obligation apply. Now, this is very hard to understand. How we can describe this easier to understand is you see it's this exclude, and there is a not. So that means if we put in the minus and minus, that means it's positive. So it's easier to read this one. The transfer is an intra-corporate transfer within the which is international trade obligation apply. So that way, if you read it that way, that will be much easier. Some people asking why would government making sentences so confusing? No, it's not government. It's it's how the legal way of structuring English. Unfortunately, if you that's why you need to go into lawyer is required to be trained to write such a language. Although it's English, but it's just very hard to understand. And that's why I had to went back when I studied the courses. I had to went back to LLB to recap all the knowledges there. But anyway, I'm here to actually explain more. So let's go into another one. So massage therapist. Okay, same thing. It has a caveat. Now there's a lot of occupation they will have caveats, so make sure you check it before you get sponsored. So again, it says low skill task, so it excludes people who works in those relaxation massage centers you see in the retail stores. It has to be a therapeutic setting, so usually will be within some of a health or medical clinic or center there. So that's another thing that you need to come across with. And last but not least, let's go to I'll go for baker. Okay, baker do have the caveat. Okay, so baker, it cannot be a low skill again. Okay, it cannot work in the mass or standardized productions. For example, there's a lot of central kitchens, and they produce a lot of breads, different kind of breads, and they distribute to Woolies, Coles, and a lot of those retail shops. If you work in those kind of environment, factories, franchise factories, then you are banned to be, not banned, you cannot, the nomination will not go through. So usually those bakers are required to be in an actual bakery shop that it's not in a centralized, it can be a bakery shop that you bake a different kind of breads and cakes differently every day, fresh, and also in a hotel scenario that will fit in this scenario there. So and that goes the same with the chef as well. If we go into, have we checked chef already, or haven't we? Okay, let's just have a read there again. It's cannot be in a limited service restaurant. So what does that mean? That's first of all, it cannot be a mass production in factories, cannot be a limited service restaurant. So for example, we talked about in the first sample that the like McDonald's, KFCs, you cannot nominate a chef in those kind of areas. It has to be a more of fine dining, cannot just be a takeaway cafe restaurant that people just come in, pick up a sandwich, and then a coffee and then go. It cannot be those kind of setting. It has to be something more and cannot be a pizza restaurant as well. So how should I let me explain a bit more in a scenario wise. It's more like those cafe restaurant that they provide breakfast. So they make big breakfast. They serves different kind of settings or brekkies, and those kind of cafe or restaurants then will meet the requirement to actually nominate a chef. So anyway, let's summarize this. So caveats within the employment sponsor visas, they are certain occupation that you wanted to have a check out first before you approach your employer or before you actually get a job. Otherwise, you don't want to work there and ultimately find out that you cannot actually be sponsored there. So there's certain items. For example, the first is it cannot be a low skill. And some occupation required to be in regional, some required to have a certain amount of income requirements, and another one is it cannot be in a the business requirement has to be a certain specific. It has usually will be above million turnover and more than 5 staffs there. Anyway, should you have more question and query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below, and I see you next video. Goodbye.